Everyone, hope everyone had a wonderful, wonderful week. This week is Parsha Zohar, and of course we celebrate Purim, Yirtz Hashem, this coming Tuesday. So I wanted to share a thought on Purim. Very strange. The whole Chag is a very, very strange Chag. It's been addressed on the topic, but the idea of Chayiv Inishal B'Sumya B'Puria seems fundamentally antithetical to what Yadus is all about. In fact, the idea of Kedusha and Tahara and drinking is a stira minei ubei. The Mishabru already points us out in Hilchos Purim. In the Bir Halacha, he says we generally frown on excessive drinking. That's antithetical to being an Eved Hashem. That's antithetical to Kedusha. It's antithetical to Tahara. Yet, says the Bir Halacha, that is how the Shulchan Aruch tells us to celebrate on Chag Purim. What exactly is the idea all about? The Bir Halacha answers, based on Achai Adam, since all of the events in Purim happened around the Mishteh Yayin. The Megillah opens up with Mishteh Yayin, Vashti has Mishteh Yayin, Esther has a number of Mishteh Yayin through which she orchestrates her plan to overthrow Haman, etc., etc. It all surrounds Mishteh Yayin, so we commemorate that with Mishteh Yayin. But perhaps there is a deeper idea. I think we've shared something in the past, but new thought today. The Gemara Maseches Megillah Daf Yud Beis Amud Aleph tells us the Talmidim of Rav Shimon Bar Yochai asked him, "Mipnei ma nischayvu sonim shel Yisrael ba'osu ador kliya?" Why is it that the Jews were chayav misa, that Haman was allowed to rise and plot a plan to destroy the Jewish people of that generation? So two answers are given, but the first answer that's suggested is that the reason is because Mipnei Shenenu Misudasan Shel Osa Rasha. They got Hana'ah, they got pleasure from the Suda of Achashverosh. And the Megillah describes that Achashverosh's Suda was 180 days long, and even after 180 days, another 7 days were tacked on. What kind of society is this in Shushan, where they're partying and drinking and reveling for such a long time? And it's interesting. But the Gemara describes that the Jews were very, very religious, and the shtiyah was kados ve'enones. They were religious. They weren't forced to drink food that was not kosher, drinks that were not kosher, food that was not kosher. It all had good mahadran hashkachos. But a society that is partying at that level, 180 days, what is that telling you about that society? And the Jews partook of that partying. Again, the Gemara describes Maseches Megillah Yud Gimel Amud Beis that one of Haman's attacks on the Jewish people was, as a nation, the Megillah describes they're separate and distinct. They're Am Mefurad Mefuzar. They're not part of our people. They're separate and distinct. And Dasehem Shonos. They have their own religion. They have their own das, their own religious standards. And then the Gemara describes, this is found in Daf Yud Gimel Amud Beis, that Haman is trying to instigate and rile up Achashverosh, and he says, these people, they don't have covered for your malchus, because if a bug were to fall into their wine, a zvuv falls into their wine, they take the zvuv out, vizorko, and toss it away and then drink the wine. But if you, the king, a Gentile, touch their wine, they're going to spill it out. They're not going to drink the wine. So they treat you even lower than a zvuv. What does this tell us? It tells us, first of all, Haman was very clever, but it also tells us the Jews are from. They were religious. They kept halacha. Nevertheless, they went to this party and they partook of the party. Anytime there's alcohol involved in a real excessive way, perhaps things start to drift into more dangerous territory. And again, the Gemara in Maseches Megillah Daf Yud Beis Amud Beis describes that on Bayom HaShevi'i Ketov Leiv HaMelech Bayayin, on the seventh day of the party, when the Melech was in a very good mood from all the wine that he had consumed. So the Gemara then describes that this was not just the seventh day of the party, but it was by Yom HaShvi'i, it was Shabbos. And to contrast how a Jew celebrates Shabbos, Yom HaShvi'i, Yisrael, what does Yisrael do? Ideally, they're Ochen V'Shosin, they eat and drink, yes. And then Matchilim B'divrei Torah, U'B'divrei Tishbachos. And they start singing praises to Hashem, singing Zmiros Nigunim, saying Divrei Torah, Aval Ovdei Kochavim. When the Gentiles have their partying, Ochem V'Shosim, and Ein Matchilim Ela B'divrei Tiflus. And they start to begin to talk in ways of licentiousness. And the Gemara, again, goes on to describe that there was men being men, the men started talking about their women, and the Persians started talking about the Persian women, and the people of Madai spoke about their women. Our women are more beautiful, your women are more beautiful. And then Achashverosh, in a very, very vile kind of language, says, Kli ani mishtamesh bo naos mikulchem. The kli, the vessel that I use, a very disgusting way of speaking, is more beautiful than yours. And the people say, sure, yeah, you think so? Show her to us, and show her to us without any clothing on. So things quickly reduced into a level of great immorality and debauchery. And that was the Suda. And that was the Suda that the Jewish people partook in. They joined that Suda. The food was kosher, shtiyah kadas, the drinks were kosher, but they were involved in a very, very hedonistic type of atmosphere. Shushan was the city that never sleeps. It had the best partying of all the party cities in the world were lodged in Shushan, and the frum Jews were involved. That, says the Talmidim of Shem Bar Yochai, is why Haman was able to come to power. So why do we drink? Why do we celebrate Purim in the way that we do? Perhaps a suggestion is that we need to go back to our roots and show that we can celebrate, we can be joyful, we too can have a Mishteh Yayin, but channel that Mishteh Yayin in the right place. We think about our lives and we think, yes, we want to be Ovdei Hashem, but have we slipped too far into the debauchery of society around us? Are we too materialistic? Are we too hedonistic? And Megillah, the Purim story, tells us, be careful. When you live in Galus, it's very easy to adopt the ways and practices of the materialistic society that is around us. So it's telling us, take a step back. Yeah, you're allowed to have parties, you're allowed to have a mishteh, but the mishteh should be, as the Gemara describes, of a Shabbos mishteh. There can be perhaps a kiddush, a l'chaim perhaps, but it should be geared to Divrei Torah, Shiros v'Tishbachos, geared in the right fashion. That perhaps is a core message of what we are supposed to accomplish at our Sudas Purim, is a tikkun for the Avera Al, that they were Nenu Me Sudaso Shel Oso Rasha. So we too have a Suda, but we gear our Suda the way it's supposed to be geared to, and thereby inform all of our Shabbosos and all of our Yom Tovim and any celebration that we have, our Bar Mitzvahs and our weddings, that we should really gear them in the proper fashion of being Avdei Hashem, Shiros v'Tishbachos HaKadosh Baruch Hu.